Welcome to the Travel Transformation Podcast, the podcast that explores the life-changing potential of solo travel, intentional travel, and location-independent working. Whether you're an aspiring digital nomad or simply want to boost your confidence through epic travel experiences, I'm here to motivate and inspire you to go after all your wildest dreams. I'm Jessica Grace Coleman, author, travel transformation coach, founder of Flip the Script Travel Transformation Services, and your host for the Travel Transformation Podcast. Travel changed my life. Now let's change yours. You ready? Let's go. Welcome to the Travel Transformation Podcast with me, Jessica Grace Coleman, the podcast about all things travel and all things transformation. Today I have a guest on the podcast, the very first guest of the Travel Transformation Podcast, and it is my brother Dave. Hello.
Hello. Sorry, Nigel Thornberry impression there. Eliza. Should we do that again?
No, I like it. I was just thinking, I think I need to do some kind of disclaimer to explain the fact that we may accidentally start talking in really bad Irish accents during this podcast, because
we tend to do that.
we have a thing of doing that. Mainly because we watched a lot of Father Ted growing up.
Far too much Father Ted, if there is such a thing.
Yeah, and we would always say, "Would you like a cup of tea now?"
Go on.
And things like that. And we're not taking the piss out of Irish accents, I promise. It's my favourite accent in the entire world. I'm just really, really, really bad at accents. So if that happens, that is why. But basically, I just wanted to do a podcast talking about the holidays we went on when we were younger and older, with our parents, family holidays, because I sort of talked a bit about them in a different podcast, and it got me thinking about how the fact that we were able to go on family holidays probably impacted me, and that's where my love of travel came from. So I thought it'd be quite nice to go and reminisce about them.
Yeah, can't wait.
So, is there one particular holiday that stands out for you that you can remember at any age that we went on?
Well, my earliest memories of the holidays are when we used to go to Cornwall, it seemed like every year, I don't know if it was. And that was brilliant, just the beaches and the sun and the ice creams and the sand castles and the windbreaks, Dad hammering the windbreak into the beach. Oh, and the bodyboarding, Mom falling over in the sea and almost drowning, and us kind of standing there laughing and then realising we should probably be trying to help her.
I'd just like to point out here that you and Dad were laughing. I was actually really concerned, and she came out of the sea, and I think she was a bit upset, and she was like, "At least someone."
Let's cut this bit, because we started off here making out how horrible I am, laughing at my own mother nearly drowned.
To be fair, I don't think she nearly drowned. She just went under the water for a bit and got a bit disoriented.
Okay, sorry, Mum.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
But yes, the Cornwall holidays were great. We would go and stay in a caravan park, in a caravan, not in a tent, because I'm still to this day, I am not a camping person. But I remember being in the caravan. I remember the little slidey door, that went across we had little bunk beds at the back.
Yes.
And the slidey door that cut us off because we'd obviously go to bed a lot earlier than Mum and Dad, and they would still be watching TV and stuff. And I just remember being behind that slidey door, and it was all cozy and nice. And I could just hear the TV going and stuff. But then inevitably there'd be a giant spider next to my head, and I would freak out.
Oh man, I'm getting memories flooding back now. Do you remember the time we were staying in the caravan? I don't know which campsite it was, but I got really poorly, and I got kind of feverish and delusional, and I told Mom that there was a silver fox running around in the forest, and I kept seeing it.
Wow.
Not like a Trevor McDonald silver fox, like an actual silvery fox running through the tree.
Not like an old dude with grey hair that's really handsome. Okay, got you. I remember you saying about that. I don't know if I remember it at the time. I probably should point out I'm 3 years younger than Dave, so he's probably got a lot more better memory of this stuff than I do, but were you ill or something? Did you have a fever?
I think I was pretty poorly.
Oh, okay.
And then I don't know if it was the same holiday, but because I was a bit disorientated, because you were just mentioning the bunk beds, and I remember somehow I turned around in my sleep, and so my head was down the end where on three sides I was boxed in, and I woke up thinking I was in a coffin.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, holidays were great.
Even so, this is your favourite memory. Wow, okay.
Another memory, do you remember we used to have loads of gerbils, and we took them on holiday?
I do not. I remember the gerbils. I don't remember taking them on holiday.
We took them on holiday, and we kept them in the awning of the caravan, and there was this, one of the groundskeepers, he was called Len, and he was this massive dude, but he was just so shit scared of these gerbils. Oh. You have to ask Mum about that. True story, bro.
Why was he scared?
Just didn't like rodents.
Oh. Yeah, I remember, I think this is probably a bit sad, but the main bit I remember of one of those holidays is like getting to leave and having the radio on and hearing that Princess Diana had died and like Mum being really upset, and we were just like sitting in the car, well, I might have got this wrong, sitting in the like park ready to leave, and so that was
the moment that, well, I heard it, was we were sat around the swimming pool and it came on the radio, and I call it a flashbulb memory, where you can remember exactly what you were doing when you get hit by some news.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I thought it was around the swimming pool, but in my head I had that we were in the car, and I was like, why would we be in the car next to the swimming pool? So
it's like when you're going well off topic, when the two towers, I heard that on the news, sat in the car, in Pat Ives' car.
I remember being in that car as well, yeah.
It was like, what the hell is going on?
I remember you asking, is this real? And she was like, yep.
Holidays! Woo!
Oh yeah, back to holidays. Okay, I made some notes for this because I planned this podcast episode and didn't really tell Dave what we were doing. So, oh gosh, I think might have been a bit of wind there.
We're sat in our parents' summer house out in the garden right now.
Yes, our makeshift podcast studio, because it helps if you're in a sort of smaller space with the sound. Hopefully, I mean, we're still like in the garden and it's a bit windy, and yeah, we'll see how it goes anyway.
We're basically in a shed.
Yeah, basically, but a nice shed. It's like
a very nice
painted
shed.
Nice, and there's like trinkets everywhere, and we've got a nice cup
Why
of tea.
did I move out? That'd be great.
You could live in here. Okay, so one of the biggest trips I remember when we were younger, and I think I was in year 6 because I remember our parents took us out of school to take us, and if that happened when we went back to school, we were forced to do a presentation about our trip as like penance for like missing school.
Were you?
Yeah, Mr. Cox made me do it. And maybe he just couldn't be bothered to come up with a lesson plan that day. I don't know. But so I was 10 then, maybe, something like that. So you would have been 13 in 96. And we went on a road trip around America. I can't remember exactly which states we went to, because we did another road trip 10 years or so later.
Very lucky.
Very lucky, yeah. And we went around several states. Our dad was driving us around. And a few years ago, as I was sort of going through some stuff in our parents' house, I came across Dave's diary.
Oh, God. When I was 13? Yeah. Hang on, why is this in the public?
Well, no. Okay, it's not a diary. It was like a holiday. You just made notes about the holiday, really.
Okay.
And I found it really funny.
Oh, no.
It's probably funnier for me because I was there. Like, other people listening are probably just going to be like, what the hell? But I thought I'd read some of the bits out that made me laugh anyway.
Okay, cringe.
Okay. So it's just like little sentences that I've pulled out of like the bigger ramblings of a 13-year-old boy. Okay, so this is America, 96, Dave's holiday notes. After that, we arrived at Glenwood Springs, where there was a Walmart, a McDonald's, and a Best Western motel called the Caravan Inn. What a delightful combination.
Oh, okay.
You're easily pleased, but to be fair, I also loved Walmart, McDonald's, and Best Westerns. So
absolutely delightful combination.
Yeah. I think we should point out that, I mean, McDonald's must have been a thing over here back then, but it wasn't, as much of a thing. They were everywhere in America, and we were like obsessed with going there while we were on holiday because it was like a treat kind of thing, and we were on holiday. So a lot of these are McDonald's related. Okay, I just love the the hyperbole of this one. Next, we went to the McDonald's and we had the surprise of our lives.
What?
They didn't do McChicken sandwiches, but they did do crispy chicken deluxes.
Oh my God.
Well,
it was an emotional roller coaster for me, my 13-year-old.
Okay, this one says a lot more about our mom than it does about us. Mom spent a lot of time and money on necklaces and bracelets from the stalls. And now the plane probably won't be able to take off on the way home because of the weight of Mom's jewellery. I think what you're talking about there is we went as like a lot of the Navajo reservations and stuff like that. So there were lots of like really cool Native American jewellery and things being sold. I remember that vividly, like all the stalls.
Do you remember we used Microsoft Encarta 95 to learn some Navajo?
Yes. Wow, that was the Duolingo of its time.
It was. Yate Hagono.
Oh my God, you actually remember it?
I go now, because it sounds like Hagono.
Hagono. What does that mean?
I go now, I buy.
Oh, it does mean I'll buy, okay. And what was the other one? Yate?
I'm sure it's Yate.
Hello?
I think so. If there are any Navajos listening, please correct
us. Yeah. Okay, next we found a Walmart, the greatest shop on earth, where I bought some flashing eyeballs want to point out it was Halloween at the time. 2 rolls of 60-foot Halloween streamers and half a bag of trick-or-treat bags. I got the other half. And I do remember, I think that set off my love for Walmart and like similar places. Like Target is my favourite shop in America when I go there now. And my love of Halloween. Halloween's more commercialised and Americanised over here now than it was then. Like, we didn't really do much for Halloween. Yeah. There wasn't as much trick-or-treating or that kind of thing. So when we went over there and we saw Walmart full of like decorations and costumes and candy yeah, it was like, oh my god, amazing.
And they're doing peanut butter flavour everything, weren't they? I seem to remember. Although it was that weird sickly peanut butter.
American chocolate is definitely different to English chocolate, and if you're used to one, then the other one tastes a bit weird. Not that it stopped us from buying a giant bag of talking of food, there was quite a lot of talk of food in your I don't want to call it a diary because that does make me sound like I'm just reading about your diary.
Travel affecting us to this day. From that same Walmart, I bought, at the delicate age of 13, a man bag, and I still have it.
No way! A 13-year-old buying a man bag?
I still take it on holiday. Well, it's like a little triangle over-the-shoulder bag that you can put
I remember that bag.
Yeah, still got it.
That's a good bag.
It is.
Nice.
Well made.
And well made and for Walmart as well. That's pretty good. So yeah, talking of food, one of the things I love about American hotels, or especially back then when it was such a novelty to be in a hotel, was the free breakfasts.
Yeah.
I loved the bagels, the orange juice, the like as much as you can eatness of it. And so did you apparently, because you put, we got a free breakfast with the price of the room, so I took advantage of it and had 4 bowls of cereals while Jessica had 2 donuts.
And that's why we eat healthy to this day.
And then I remember this bit, I can't remember where we were. Did we go to the Grand Canyon on this trip? I think we did.
Yeah. Yes.
I think this was here. The view was still great, and there were 2 tiny poodles there. There were also 2 other dogs that were wearing sun hats and neckerchiefs. I remember that. I'm a big dog fan, so I remember that vividly. I think I remember that more than the actual Grand Canyon. I did go back when I was living in America and see the Grand Canyon again, and I remember it from there. But I think from our trip, I just remember the dogs.
Well, there was Bryce Canyon as well, and that's got something called Poodle Rock, which looks like a poodle.
Yeah.
And a quote that says it's a hell of a place to lose a cow.
Yes, I remember that.
And then, I don't know if I can say this in your podcast, but I had a wee up a tree, and it turned out to be a mountain lion scratching post, so I was looking over my shoulder for the rest of the trip.
Oh my god.
In case this mountain lion had caught my scent.
And just hunting you down. Wow, okay. I don't have that on my notes, oddly enough, that you weed up a tree and scared of being hunted across the states by... Luckily, I do have editing power because I am the one going to be editing this. So yeah, I've made some other notes, just random things I remember, and my memory is notoriously terrible. So I generally don't remember the whole of a trip, but I'll remember little bits. I remember we went to Denmark, Legoland, with cousin Simon.
Yes.
And I've got here, I don't know if I've made this up, but also a peeing story. Did he pee up an electric fence on the way there? And some kind of consequence of that?
I don't have any memory of that, no.
Okay.
In Denmark, there was that advert that kept coming on the telly, and they read out the phone number, and the phone number was sex appeal, tuba, tuba. I don't even know what the advert was for, but that'll stay with me till the day I die.
Have you tried Googling it?
No, but that's going to flash before my eyes right before I die, is this Danish advert for something. So I'm completely derailing your podcast, sorry.
Oh, well, that's the kind of point, because I can only remember little bits.
And on the trip over there, because we took the ferry, me and Simon went into the shop on board and we bought what we thought were chocolate cigarettes, the ones that unwrap them, but they weren't. They were real cigarettes.
What they
so how old
served
were we?
you? I was really quite young, so you can't have been that old.
And so, they let these kids buy cigarettes, and we got them back to the room. We opened them and we were like, this doesn't smell like chocolate.
At least you didn't try eating.
And then we opened the other packet as well, just to make sure, even though they're the exact same. So we took them back to the shop, these 2 open packets of cigarettes. And we went to Legoland, and a vivid memory from Legoland is I went to try and ask this guy at a kiosk Like I said, I wanted to go on these like little cars you could go in. And I remember this guy looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was just like absolutely hench. And I was too afraid to speak to him because he was such a scary big man. And he went through all the different languages. He could speak like loads of different languages asking. And he's like, are you English? And I was like, yes, I am. Thank you for saving me in this awkward social situation.
I really don't remember much about this. Apparently the only thing I do remember never happened. So,
Ask Simon, I don't know. Man. Well, he's had kids, so it couldn't have been that bad.
I also kind of remember staying in one of our dad's friends' houses in France with Divoire the sausage dog next door. Have I made that up?
No, Doug's house, yeah.
Yeah, that's all I... Do you remember anything from that trip?
Less so the one when we went with our folks, but I've been back since. Because I can't really speak much French, and I was getting into drawing at the time, and I was with Susie, and I drew a picture for the neighbours.
Where is this going?
The only phrase that I could remember from French was Je suis un morse avec un bâton de colle. I am a walrus with a glue stick. So I used my amazing art skills. Yeah, I do not have amazing art skills. To draw a walrus holding a glue stick with that phrase written underneath, and I presented it to them. And this old French couple just looked at each other like, what the absolute living merde is going on here?
That sounds like a sentence you would get from the Duolingo app now. Like, they come up with the most random sentences for you to learn that no one will ever need in their entire life. I also remember, I think we should talk about music, because a lot of our road trips, we would just get one CD, put it on and play it to death.
Fastball in Spain.
Yeah, Fastball in Spain. I've got that. I've got Garth Brooks. Was that America, maybe? Yeah. Garth Brooks' greatest hits, and I think that's where my love of country music came from. And Fastball... Was it all the pain money can buy in Spain? And then I also remember, because I don't think I had a personal CD player. I was so old. I remember if I bought a CD when we were on holiday, then Dad would play it in the car. And I bought Savage Garden. And I think it was Cornwall. I've got Cruising Around Cornwall in my notes with Savage Garden playing full blast, and it was in the summer, so all the windows were down. And I just remember you being like, oh God! Like, so embarrassed. No offence to Savage Garden. I still love Savage Garden. But they do have some like ballads that aren't really cruising music that we were playing. Oh, you know what? I think out of all the things I could remember travelling, I've put down one of the things I loved the most was when we were staying in like a cheap hotel, and I would leave the hotel room to go in search of the ice machine room. For some reason, this made me feel so grown up. Whether we needed ice or not, I would get the bucket or whatever that like came in the room, and I would go on a little mission to find the ice room, fill it with ice, even though we didn't need it, and then come back. And I was like, yes, this is the best thing ever. I'm not sure how that has helped me in life, but...
Choco milk in a can they had in the vending machines. Chocolate milk in a can. That was my go-to drink.
Yeah, chocolate milk. I also remember drinking a lot of those glass bottles of Coke. We used to buy them in bulk and have them in the cooler in the car as we drove around.
Yes.
And we'd get like a baguette, like a French baguette, and some like dip of some kind, and we'd just eat baguette and drink Cokes and listen to Savage Garden. And it was amazing.
And that's why we're so cool now.
Yep. I've also got the hotel with all the moths. Do you remember this?
Yes, they built it on a swamp, didn't they? And every year the hotel gets wall-to-wall covered in moths. And
Go on.
Our mom is deathly terrified of moths. And she did so well. If that had been spiders covering that building...
I would not.
You couldn't see the building just from the moths. If that had been spiders, I would have just run in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
You couldn't have got me in there for love and money.
Was that in America?
Yeah.
I remember pulling up and like it was at night, and I think it was dark. I don't know if it was raining, but it looked ominous as hell. And I remember, I don't know if this is in my mind's eye, if I've made this up, but like there were like spooky street lamps, and like there may as well have been like fog on the ground and stuff, and there was just this like big ominous building covered, like I didn't even realise there were moths at first. It was just like black, wasn't it? Yeah, and you could tell it was moving. I was like, what the hell is that? Realised it was moths, and like I think Mom just had to like get out the car, leg it in. There was no other way. Did we? There's no other way she would have been able to like walk up to it. She just had to go for it. Oh, yeah, I remember that vividly. Anyway, I thought we could go through some pictures, because on Facebook I've got a lot of photos of one particular road trip. But before we do that, before I forget, can we talk about some of your trips you've done?
Yeah, sure.
Because I talk a lot about solo travel, and I know you've done a solo trip to Mexico.
Yeah.
And you do some solo camping and stuff. So do you want to talk about that a bit? Why did you decide to go to Mexico, and why did you go on your own?
So I was single at the time, and I was a few years into my business, Oak Timber Structures, which was going really, really well. But it was very full-on business, so I needed a holiday, and I thought, you know what, I treat myself. Went on the internet and then found a real good package deal for a place in Mexico, and it's like a 9-hour flight there, but I just wanted to relax and not have to worry about cooking or anything. And I didn't go, there were loads of places you could have gone to, and I'd like to go back and do some of those things and see like the amazing, places, temples in the jungle and things. But I was all about chilling out and moving as little as possible and sunbathing, and that's what that holiday was about, and that was what was needed. And then halfway through there was a hurricane warning.
Oh no.
And then the heavens opened up. I got some pictures of lightning, which was on my to-do list, like my bucket list, along with find out how much is in a bushel, which I did do. It's something like 4.5 litres. Don't quote me on that, I'll check it. And hug Carol Vorderman, I'm still working on that one.
Okay, yeah.
But I've taken a photo of lightning now, so I'm...
I thought you were going to say I've taken a photo of Carol Vorderman from the bushes.
I'm 2/3 of the way through my life goals.
Why was the bushel thing on your life goals list?
When a question just hits you and you get.
But you could just Google that and you could get it sorted in like 30 seconds.
Stop questioning my methods.
I'm just saying. I think you could reach a little higher in your life goals. I mean, the Carol Vorderman one, that is quite. It's achievable, but you're going to have to put some effort into it.
Is she on Twitter?
Probably. She must be on something. Yeah, we'll look into it.
Okay, that was, I think, the first time I've been abroad alone. Mm-hmm. It was with Thompson, was it, or what is now TUI, and it was like they are really good. I know this isn't sponsored or anything, but
not yet.
Eliza, that really gone back to Nigel Thornberry.
We haven't gone into full on Irish yet, so
that's good.
There's hope.
It was very easy. Everything at every stage, get on the plane, get off here, get on a bus, get off here. It was all just guided, like a muppet like me could do it. It was perfect. And it was so warm there, so hot, and the drinks were included and the food was included, and it was brilliant. I'm reminiscing. I want to go back right now. I'm going to go get on the internet.
And how was that different to, you think, compared to if you'd gone with someone, or compared to trips you'd taken in the past with someone else? Like, were there pros and cons that you didn't sort of realise there would be, or how did it differ?
It was a bit more of an intimidating holiday to go on, knowing I'll be going on myself. Because if you're with someone, you've got someone to talk to all the time. You've got someone to, put your heads together if you've got a problem. Not that there's that many problems, apart from deciding what time to go for breakfast. That particular problem.
Which cocktail to have.
Exactly. I'm trying to think of something really deep and philosophical lesson I can give you from this, but I'm afraid no.
Did you find it, easier in that you didn't have to... You could just do what you wanted on your own schedule, you didn't have to...
You don't have to worry about anyone else's needs at that particular time, which is a very selfish thing to say, but it was a very selfish holiday. It was...
Well, sometimes you need that. And, so it depends who you've gone travelling with. I've gone travelling with people, if you get on with them completely fine, it doesn't matter. If you want to do different things, you can sort it out. But then sometimes there'll be people who will it just takes all day to decide what to do, or, you just waste time, trying to figure out what you want to do because you both want to do different things, or if there's a group of you in particular, that can be... You can be
impulsive when you're on your own. There was, I didn't go many places, but there was it said in 20 minutes time there was a bus going down to, I can't remember the name of the place, one of the local towns. So just hopped on the bus and went. Didn't have to ask anyone if they wanted to come. Just went. I only walked up and down the main street because it was full of people trying to sell me things. Mm-hmm. It's very touristy. Mm. But then I went back and then sat on the beach, drank a cocktail.
Nice. Do you want to learn all about the 5 travel transformation principles, including how to conquer your fears through travel? Then you need to grab a copy of my Travel Transformation Guide, written by me, Jessica Grace Coleman, as part of my Flip the Script Academy. It's totally free. All I ask for in exchange is your email address so I can keep you updated on all things travel and transformation. Just head to traveltransformationcoach.com/free guide to get your guide today. And now, let's get back to the Travel Transformation podcast. Did you ever feel too alone, too lonely? Because I think that's what puts off a lot of people going solo travelling. They think they'll feel lonely.
No, but I don't think I'm the right person to answer that because I'm always okay with my own company.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like being alone.
Same.
But probably tick quite a few of the boxes for being an introvert.
Mm-hmm.
And they say one of the things for that is being alone recharges you. Spending time with people really takes it out of you.
Yep.
So I think that comes back to what you said about if you're in a group of people, having your own place, being able to go back and just regroup
mm-hmm.
on your own is a powerful thing to do. It's just learning about yourself and your best way to operate, isn't it? Really, upon
mm-hmm.
growing up.
Yeah. And when you got back from the holiday, did you feel rested and relaxed?
Yeah. You know, when you get back off holiday and like for a few days, you're just like, man, I feel great. And there's nothing stopping me from feeling like this all the time. But then life gets back on top of you. The customers start phoning you up and demanding ridiculous things. And then you're like, before you know it, you're stressed again. And in the end, you end up just selling your business and then making YouTube videos for a living. Yachting Laboratories. Follow me on YouTube. I've got 16 subscribers, 2 of them are me.
2 of them are you. One of them is me.
Hey. Thank you.
So would you go a solo trip like that again, or would you recommend that to people? Like a package deal, would you recommend that to someone going on their own because it's so easy, like everything's done for you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't have to think about anything. They even had a private taxi to from the airport to the place.
Nice.
And this guy, the local, was telling me about all the places nearby and culture and history and stuff. That was really interesting. I think it's worth doing anyway because life is a collection of experiences on different points of the spectrum of what you expect and different potential levels of stressfulness, and you don't know how you will react to something unless you're put in that situation, and that always helps you grow. So yeah, I can highly recommend going somewhere on your own if you've got the opportunity. About the solo camping, if you can recommend, well, you say you don't do camping, so maybe you won't be able to recommend. If anybody does,
I'm afraid I am very
I recommend
not
a good
the
camping
person.
bed because I've got a mattress, an inflatable mattress, and people say that an inflatable mattress is great for people that want to sleep on the hard ground but not straight away because it always deflates.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Sorry.
So recommendations for what camping mattresses?
Yes, please.
Okay. Send them in. DM me.
Donna-
Travel Transformation Coach on Instagram.
Donna suggested I get one of those like Emma mattresses. It comes all rolled up and then just open it in the tent and then it just lives there. Then you can't get it back into its packaging.
That's one way to do it. I wanted to ask you, don't know how much of this you remember, but I remember you doing a school exchange to, was it Stafford, Virginia? Because we live in, we're from Stafford, England.
Twinned with Stafford.
So what was the point of that? Was it literally because they're both called Stafford? They wanted an excuse to go on holiday.
It was a millennial thing. And it was an exchange, but they never came back to England.
Oh, so not an exchange in the traditional sense of the word.
Not in a traditional sense. Oh no.
Oh, it's gone Irish. We've gone Irish. I apologise to any Irish people. I really do love your accent. I just can't do it. So you went over there, but they didn't come over here. At least it wasn't the other way around. Like you got the better end of that
totally
deal.
Did.
So how old were you at this point? 16,
Well, it was
17?
2000, so I'd have been 17. It was in high school. And I stayed with this family. Adrienne, the girl was called, and she was a cheerleader and wore a lot of spandex, which was very exciting for a 17-year-old boy. And her dad was a retired Navy SEAL.
Oh, wow.
Right? So I was sat there as a 17-year-old boy in these like lazy boy reclining chairs watching spy drama La Femme Nikita with a retired Navy SEAL, and I have never been so cool as I was right then. My level of cool peaks right then.
Oh,
Come on.
what's that? Is that a plane? Helicopter?
Helicopter.
We do the parents' house. If you can hear this, the parents' house backs onto a field which is owned by a farm across the way. And I don't know if he does anymore, but the farmer used to take helicopter lessons, so it could be him.
He used to fly a helicopter quite a lot. There it is, look up there. But something happened and he scared himself so much that he doesn't fly them anymore.
Oh no, I didn't know that. Okay, so it's probably not him. But hi, whoever that was.
Welcome to the podcast.
You haven't been in a helicopter? I have.
Please tell me.
Oh, it was a bit of a balls up, actually.
What, you accidentally went in a helicopter?
No, it was in Colorado, and I book things so far in advance. Like, I think I booked this 6 months before we went, the helicopter. And the guy put on the email, just to let you know, by the time you come, we'll be operating from a different location. And I filed that away, didn't read it again. 6 months later, completely forgotten all about it. So we drove to the wrong place. just as a helicopter was leaving, and me and my friend Vicky were like, huh, I wonder if that's our helicopter. And it was him, just going off to the other location. So after a while, we managed to get him on the phone, and he was like, I told you in the email. And I was like, dude, that was 6 months ago. And we had to like drive really fast to the other location to get there in time, and we managed to do it. And we went over, I think it was the Garden of the Gods in Colorado, and it was very nice.
What's the Garden of the Gods?
Just cool, like, rock formations and stuff, like a national park. It's really cool. Anyway, thought I'd tie that back to the helicopter talk.
Nice. Good segue.
Okay, and I thought we could look through some of the photos of our... I've got like 7 Facebook albums on this because back then you could only add 60 pictures to a Facebook album. And I think this is the only place I've saved them. I really need to download them at some point in case Mark Zuckerberg goes crazy one day and just decides to take everything down. Okay, so lots of pictures of mountains. We started in Colorado because I stayed in Colorado for a year. So you guys came over. We started in Colorado. Oh, look, I think that's the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park. Inspired Stephen King's The Shining.
Oh, yeah?
I've since been back there. It's very cool. I would recommend. I took a picture of lots of ice cream cakes. Oh, Dairy Queen in Nebraska.
Why wouldn't you?
It's all food related, I tell you. Lots of buffalo heads mounted on the wall, which is very sad to me because my school mascot when I was over there was a buffalo, Ralphie.
Oh, yeah?
We went to this place called Crazy Horse. Do you remember that?
Yes, the Indian guy was building a statue out of a mountain, wasn't he?
Yeah, so he'd been doing it since the 1940s, and he'd only managed to do, well, only, he'd done quite a lot, but it was like the face and the outline of the horse, and I do every so often check to see how far they've got with it, and it's not very far, so I think it's going to take them a while. Is it just one dude doing it? Can't be. Maybe that's why it's taken so long.
I can't remember. Did he take over from his granddad or something? Well, he must have done, because he'd be, he'd
be very old.
Trying to do the maths.
Oh yeah, we went to Mount Rushmore. So that obviously didn't take as long, so I have a feeling they had more than one dude and his granddad working on it.
The chipmunks weren't there at Mount Rushmore?
Yes, here we go. We fed the chipmunks.
Obviously there's massive ace presidential faces, but what we remember is feeding the chipmunks. We looked
at them for like 10 seconds, went, oh, that's nice. And then we sat down, had some ice cream, and then were surrounded by chipmunks. Got lots of photos of them.
I like how you got 3 photos of the faces that we went there to see, and then 100 photos of chipmunks eating ice cream.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Oh, then we went to Deadwood, which was very cool. And I've never watched Deadwood, have you?
No, I've not seen the show.
But it is an actual place, and they have very cool signs, very cool street. We went into a saloon with sawdust on the floor and everything like that. Like really ye olde Wild West town, and that is in South Dakota. One of the Dakotas. So South Dakota, Deadwood, 1876. Looks like it was founded. I really like going to old Wild West style places. Do you remember going to Silverton in Colorado as well? It's like a sort of Wild West town with like a cool steam train and...
Yes, that was amazing.
Really love stuff like that. Oh look, I got a picture of the sawdust on the floor.
Yeah, I now vividly remember that.
Steakhouse Saloon. So this was in 2008 because I was just finishing my year abroad. So it was 12 years after the first trip we took where you made all those amazing notes about Walmarts and McDonald's, and I think we probably stayed in similar places and ate McDonald's and went to Walmart.
Do you remember Magic the dog?
Yes, it was a great... Yeah, I've got a picture with Magic the dog in one of the like motel type places. Yep, so I'm just in another album, and we went to see the Devil's Tower in Wyoming. Do you remember that?
Yeah, famously in Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah, what's the sound?
Do 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 do.
That's it. I was going to go do 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 do. It's not quite right.
Nearly there. And the story about the Devil's Tower is that a great big bear was trying to get someone at the top of it, and its claw marks down the side of the mountain.
It'd have to have been a giant bear.
Frickin' giant bear. And I bought a belt from the shop just by there that had flames on it.
Nice. Very cool. You know what? There's a picture of like a load of jackalopes on the wall of this same shop that you got that belt from. And I remember at the time thinking they were real because I was like, I wasn't young, was I? I was like 21. Maybe it was the other trip that we saw them and I thought they were real. But they talk about them as if they're real and like they're mounted on the wall as if they were real animals that they've killed, and that's just very confusing.
Describe them for anyone that's...
So they're like are they like rabbits? But people antlers. Have put antlers on them.
Mounted
that's
them
basically
on
it. So I think they're meant to be like a mythical creature that people have gone around and killed, but really there's some dude like gluing antlers onto dead rabbits.
It's like the mermaid of the rabbit world.
So yeah, I remember vividly seeing those and being like, what? Oh, we went to Yellowstone National Park.
I
which
still
is
wear
amazing.
my hoodie every day at the gym that I brought at Yellowstone National Park.
Ah, what does it say? Yellowstone National Park.
Yep.
It's pictures of us in the snow. Oh, here we go. We were talking about this flyer earlier before we started recording. So in Yellowstone, they gave out flyers on the way in, and it's got a warning: many visitors have been gored by buffalo. Buffalo can weigh 2,000 pounds and sprint at 30 miles per hour, 3 times faster than you can run. These animals may appear tame, but are wild, unpredictable, and dangerous. Do not approach buffalo. And then it has a great picture. Well, not great. It's just kind of funny picture that they've added to it of this buffalo actually goring a dude who was like flying in the air. And not long after we got given that flyer, something happened.
Yeah, me and Dad went for a walk away from the car park. And we stood on this bridge to take some pictures, and we turned around, and then this buffalo was walking down the road. It kind of lunged at a car. It seemed quite angry.
Oh dear.
And it got closer and closer and closer. And there was nowhere for us to go because we were on like a bridge. And so we were like, we looked at each other and we kind of made a pact that if it came anywhere near us, we'd jump into the water off the bridge. I've got a film of it going past, actually. I filmed it.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
on
I
Facebook
remember
somewhere.
that.
And it just kind of just lumbered past and looked at us, snorted, and then walked off. And then me and Dad went back to the car, changed our trousers, and carried on the journey.
I have a question though, because it looks like it was kind of cold here. Was the water that you were going to jump into frozen over? That could have been quite bad escape plan. Yeah, so we saw some of the hot springs. Dragon's Mouth Spring. Oh, actually, I'm doing a virtual walk around Yellowstone at the moment with the Conqueror app that I use.
Oh, nice.
And I passed Dragon's Mouth Spring not long ago. I was like, that does sound familiar. Anyway, got a picture of crows. A picture of, that's the buffalo, I think. Because it walked past the car later on. Or was it a different buffalo?
I think you were in the car, it walked past and then it walked off to us.
He looks a bit angry, doesn't he? Or he just looks a bit sad, really. Maybe he just wanted a friend and you were like, trying to run away from it.
They shouldn't give out those flyers then saying that they're angry.
True.
It's killing off buffalo's social lives.
Oh yeah, so we went and saw Old Faithful, the geezer.
That's brilliant. What geezer?
So the geezer erupts. Is it like clockwork? So you will see it erupt when you go there if you just hang around for a bit. And then, I don't know if it's still there, but next to it was this awesome hotel made out of stone and wooden beams and antlers. And do you remember this?
Yeah, I could not understand how they could build something so big and so like cavernous inside out of trees. It was huge, wasn't it?
Yeah, so if you go there, I recommend going in. Like, we didn't stay there or eat there, I don't think. We just wandered around and took some
They
pictures.
had a room that you could look in, and I remember, because obviously everything's panelled with wood, just how many spiders there might be there. And that freaked me out.
We saw some other geezers. Oh, this one's called Mystic Spring. It's like a little pond. And this is the Puff and Stuff geezer.
Excuse me? Ed Sheeran went on a tour and slipped and his foot went in and boiled his foot.
Oh, gosh.
And as they took the shoe off, it pulled his skin off as well.
Ooh, yeah, don't Top tip, don't put your feet in geezers. So I remember Yellowstone, some of it was, quite normal, and then the geezers were really cool, but some of them were like proper, some of the bits were like alien landscapes.
It looks like a Dali painting, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I've got a picture up here, and there's like 2 sort of blackened, possibly burnt trees, and it was sort of misty everywhere, and the ground was really, I don't even know how to describe that. Yeah, salty and misty, and the clouds were like really low and dark, and it just looked like something out of an alien landscape, like a alien planet.
Absolutely incredible.
I'd just like to point out that I took these on like a top of the range camera at the point, and it's nowhere near as good as a phone camera these days.
I just think, yeah, they're small, aren't they?
Oh, look, more buffalo.
Buffalo.
Oh yeah, do you remember this one? This dude was just chilling out in the middle of this.
Oh, in the little green by the car park.
Yeah, and there was a sign saying restroom 280 feet, and he was just rubbing his head against that, having a lovely time. Oh yeah, here's the clock for the Old Faithful geezer. Oh, here you go. Plus or minus 10 minutes predicted eruption. At least you can predict the eruptions, so that's good. You can, you don't have to hang around longer than 10 minutes. Yeah, I found Yellowstone really cool because we've been lucky enough to go to quite a few national parks in America. And I think Yellowstone is probably one of my favourites.
It's incredible. And they, I think it was just before the snow season, wasn't it, where they bring the roads in?
They take the roads in, yeah. Okay, and then we went to Bear World.
Yes!
Which didn't just have bears, it had all kinds of animals.
Tiny goat.
Yes, we did. Oh, look, there's a picture of a wolf here. There's a picture of this bear climbing a tree. Look at him go. This is great for podcasting.
I was going to say, the best podcasts are the ones where we're just sitting there looking at pictures.
It was more to remind us of what we're doing, but there were the cutest baby bears there. I've taken like 10 million pictures of them. And these deer and things, and there was the cutest little goat. There he is, picture of me holding him.
Oh, what a derpy goat. He's so cool.
Yeah, there was a very derpy goat. His legs were all over the shop, and he just kept going, "Meow." I guess that's what goats do. Yeah, so that whole album was of goats. No.
We went to Bear World.
Of bear-
It's full of goats.
whole album, basically full of bears and goats. So, after Bear World, we went to Salt Lake City.
Oh, yeah.
Which was, I found really cool. Like, just the buildings and the architecture and
We went
stuff.
on a Mormon tour, didn't we, of the Mormon headquarters?
Yeah, I found it really interesting. And we went, on the way there, we saw the Bonneville Salt Flats, Utah's famed measured mile site of world and land speed record runs.
Yeah, because it's so flat, they do speed runs.
Nice salt flats, Blue Star Memorial Highway. And then, we had a tour of the Mormon, the HQ.
Yeah.
And there's really old, sort of traditional type buildings right next to like really futuristic looking ones. Like this one we're looking at now is like a big silver shiny spaceship almost. Very cool. Yeah, do you remember much about Salt Lake City? I just remember the like really cool buildings and just thinking like it was a beautiful day as well, and it was, I don't know if I knew much about the Mormons particularly, but they got like, you can see like all the gardens and there's fountains and these big white buildings and statues and everything.
Incredibly fancy place.
It's a very cool place. Yeah, I definitely recommend going there. And then the last album of this trip is back in Colorado. Yeah, we went to Steamboat Springs, which is very nice.
I got another hoodie from there and I lost it a few years ago.
Oh,
That's
no.
my favourite hoodie ever.
You'll have to go back.
And that's where they had, do you remember the steak place? Grill your own steaks?
Yes, I think we've got pictures of that. So you basically pay to make your own dinner.
Yeah, but you get to sit on horse saddles around a big grill and grill your own steaks with fire.
It was a very cool place.
Right.
Yeah. We also went to the John Denver Memorial, or is it like a exhibition? And basically they just have like his lyrics on lots of stones around a river, and it's very nice. And then we just went to Denver and saw some stuff, and weirdly we went to the courthouse because our mom, on the first road trip we went to this place, I don't think it was called like Party Town or something like that, like that sold lots of party streamers and stuff like that. And she got talking to the guy who worked there, called Sean, and for some reason they exchanged contact information. I don't know why. They just really got on well. And since then, they've been emailing each other and writing cards and letters to each other, like ever since 96. Wow, after cool. One very, very brief meeting in a party store. I don't even know what we were doing in the party store because we weren't having a party. And then on this road trip in 2008, she knew he lived in Denver and she knew he worked at the courthouse, and she didn't even tell him we were going there. She just went into the courthouse, asked at reception if she could see him. And after like explaining the situation, because at first they were like, no, get out of here. Who are you? This is a courthouse. After explaining it, they went and found him and brought him down, and they like hung out for a bit. So, that's very random, but like that's the kind of thing that happens when you're traveling.
So Americans are basically like, oh, you met in a party shop, you should have said. That makes everything fine.
Pretty much.
Metal detectors and everything, didn't they, you had to go through to get in? I remember putting my head in.
To the party shop?
No, to the courthouse.
Yeah, that makes more sense. But yeah, I think that both of those trips, well, the first trip was the reason why I chose a university degree that had a year abroad in Colorado. And I think that last road trip we did in America set off my love of road trips, and I've since done like road trips around America and stuff like that. So I think that definitely had an impact. But do you think our travels when we were younger had any impact?
Oh yeah, of course, definitely. I mean, it massively broadened our horizons. We're so lucky to see places that you normally only get to see on films and TV, meet all the people, experience all the wonderful accents. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, obviously, you know, the way that we're recalling these things, it's all up there in our heads, and it must be influencing us sometimes in ways we don't even know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as you say, we're very lucky to have been able to go to some of these places when we were younger. But just the fact that we like did go to America and do a road trip, it showed me that wasn't like an impossible thing to do. If we hadn't have done that, maybe it would have been a lot more daunting when I went to do it, or I would have ummed and ahed about going. Yeah, so I think we have talked long enough about our holidays. Thank you for joining me.
Pleasure, thank you.
And to anyone who's listening, if you've had any transformative trips with your family when you were younger that sort of changed the way you looked at the world or made you have a love of travel or anything like that, I'd love to hear about them. So just let me know at info@traveltransformationcoach.com, or you can DM me on Instagram at traveltransformationcoach.
I've got one last memory.
Okay, go on.
When we went to Death Valley, we drove through it. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Where it was literally, it has the record for the hottest place in the world.
Oof.
And as we were driving into it, there was a sign that says last radiator water for like 20 miles or something.
Oh.
And remember, as we got out of it the other side, there was a McDonald's. Funny enough, we went to McDonald's.
Of course.
And this guy just wandered in who was just sunburnt and crispy. And he just went up to the counter at McDonald's and went, "Water! Water!" And they gave him some water and he buggered off back into the desert.
Yes, I remember that. And we were like, where the hell has he come from? Where is he going?
Cotton Eye Joe. It's what became of Cotton Eye Joe.
Yeah,
And
maybe.
And they called a McChicken sandwich, where the slang word for it from the people cooking it was, "I need a crispy critter over here."
I remember that too. And I also remember going to a different McDonald's. We went to many of them, going through the drive-thru, and they accidentally gave us double of everything.
Oh God, yeah.
Best day ever. Right, should we go to McDonald's?
We peaked right there that day. 2 McDonald's.
Yeah, I remember having like a whole massive tray full of milkshakes just for us. We're like, yes. Anyway, yeah, okay, so we're going to go off to McDonald's now. If you want to sponsor us. And yeah, we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Travel Transformation Podcast with me, Jessica Grace Coleman. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review, and spread the word if you have friends or family who also want to transform through travel. You can find out more about me at traveltransformationcoach.com or on Instagram at traveltransformationcoach. Thanks again, and until next time, I'll catch you on the flip side.